Welcome, and thank you for standing by. All participants will be able to listen only until the question and answer portion of today's conference. At that time, to ask a question, please press star 1. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, please disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn the conference over to Daryl Nail. Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, and welcome to our pre-launch briefing for the Sentinel-6B mission. I'm Daryl Nail with NASA Communications. We just completed a launch readiness review for Sentinel-6B, and all teams reported they are go for a Sunday launch on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Space Launch Complex 4E here at the Vandenberg Space Force Base on the central coast of California. T0 is 9:21 and 32 seconds p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sunday, early on Monday in the Eastern Time Zone at 12:21:32 a.m. Since the early 1990s, satellites launched by NASA and domestic and international partners have collected precise sea level data. The launch of Sentinel-6B will extend this data set out to nearly 4 decades. With its measurements, Sentinel-6B will deliver critical sea level and ocean data to protect coastal infrastructure, improve weather forecasting, and support commercial activities at sea. This project brings together a remarkable team: NASA, ESA, EUMETSAT, NOAA, the European Commission, and CNES, all working side by side. And speaking of those team members, joining me are members from some of them to talk about the mission and launch readiness. We have Karen St. Germain, Director of NASA's Earth Science Division; Pierrik Veuilleumier, Sentinel-6B Project Manager with ESA; Parag Vaze, Sentinel-6B Project Manager at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory; Tim Dunn, Senior Launch Director with NASA's Launch Services Program; Julianna Scheiman, Director of NASA Science Missions at SpaceX; and First Lieutenant Forrest Harbin, the Launch Weather Officer with the U.S. Air Force. We'll start with brief remarks from each of our panelists, and then we'll take your questions over the phone lines. And we'll start with Karen.
All right, thanks so much, Daryl. It is really exciting to be here. Let me start by saying NASA's exploration of other planets really starts with actually understanding our own planet. And by studying the Earth from space, from that unique vantage point, we can see our home planet as a system. In other words, we can see how changes in one area can drive changes in other areas. But we can only tackle this enormous job through strategic partnerships. And it's because of our strategic partnerships across U.S. agencies and Europe that we're here today preparing for the launch of a key mission in this endeavor. Sentinel-6B is the latest in a line of missions stretching over 3 decades, keeping an uninterrupted watch over our planet's sea surface height, finding patterns, and advancing our understanding of planet Earth. Sentinel-6 satellites provide actionable science to communities, to planners, decision makers, and responders around the world. The suite of instruments on Sentinel-6B will measure sea surface height in real time across about 90% of Earth's oceans, and with tremendous accuracy. And this information lets us monitor significant ocean features like ocean currents, sea level and wave height, and it gives us a view into the inner workings of the ocean, how the ocean moves energy, not just horizontally, but vertically, transporting the sun's energy actually deep into the oceans. This information underpins navigation, search and rescue, and industries like commercial fishing and shipping. And these measurements form the basis for U.S. flood predictions for coastal infrastructure, real estate, energy storage sites, and other assets along our shorelines. Scientists and other data users will be able to use Sentinel-6B data to understand and predict coastal erosion and saltwater encroachment into inland supplies of water that are used for agriculture, irrigation, as well as municipal drinking water. And because energy stored in the oceans is the fuel for tropical storms and our weather, Sentinel's measurements improve weather prediction models, and in particular, improve forecasts of hurricane development and intensification. It will also tell us what areas are more vulnerable to these risks. and that will in turn enable much better decision-making to plan for these kinds of events. So, we're super excited to be here at Vandenberg. We're looking forward to a successful launch, and I'll stop there. Back to you, Daryl.
All right, thank you, Karen. And now over to Pierrik.
Thank you. Sentinel-6B is
He's turning his microphone on. We'll just give him a moment. There you go.
No, mic is on. Thank you. Sentinel-6B is the sister spacecraft of Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich, which was the first to carry a fully digital altimeter, and was launched in 2020. The two twin satellites embark different instruments. The first one is Poseidon 4, a radar altimeter instrument. I mentioned was the first fully digital instrument in space, giving very good accuracy. And as companion, we have a microwave radiometer, nicknamed AMRC, which with its improved calibration capability and high-frequency channels, enable the long-term full performance of the mission. These two instruments are carried into orbit by Falcon 9 onto unusual orbits, very high inclination, high altitude orbit, which is very demanding in terms of radiation, which is specific for this mission. For economical efficiency, the two satellites, Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich and Sentinel-6B, were effectively produced in parallel. And the launch of Michael Freilich in 2020 then was followed by the completion of the second satellite, which was then stored into a dry nitrogen tank to make sure it would not degrade. After storage, about a year ago, we took the satellite out. We went through a complete verification program to make sure nothing had changed over the storage period, and to make sure that the satellite was ready again for flight. Sentinel-6B was transported in an unusual way here to California. Instead of flying as we normally do, we took a cargo across the Atlantic, and the convoy was crossing the U.S. from Texas up to California by truck. The voyage went very well, and we are ready here for a very successful launch, I'm sure, of Sentinel-6B. On a personal note, I think Sentinel-6 is a model of collaboration, and we at the European Space Agency, we are very grateful and happy to collaborate with NASA, with EUMETSAT, and NOAA, and with our friends in CNES and our sponsors in the European Union. So I think we're ready to go. On to you, Parag.
Thank you, Pierrik. And now, Parag. We'll work the microphone a little bit and get that switched on and one switched off. There we go.
Okay, good afternoon. Thanks, Pierrik. As Pierrik described, the satellite has had a long development history and also a long voyage across the Atlantic. It's made its way to Vandenberg Space Force Base here in California. We then really started a campaign, and the campaign between all our teams has been very, very hectic, but has been a beehive of activity over the last 6 weeks, where we've had multiple teams from NASA, ESA, Airbus, and SpaceX work in tandem with a lot of parallel activities to get the satellite ready and also get the launcher ready. So a lot of true campaign efforts with all the teams working in parallel and at the same time in an organized, synergistic way. So once the satellite arrived, we of course unpacked it, checked it. It was in very, very good shape. Then we went through a full functional test of the whole satellite and ensured that all the operational and functional and performance items of the satellite were good to go. And the satellite is in excellent health. After that, we also finally fueled the satellite, as we need to prepare for its activities and operations in space. While all of this was going on with the satellite, the SpaceX teams were also working on the interface hardware that really allows the satellite to mate with the launch vehicle, and the SpaceX teams were working in parallel, preparing and positioning, mating with the satellite. That took place very successfully. And then our final step was actually placing the satellite within the launch vehicle fairing, and now it's been encapsulated and handed over to SpaceX for the final mating with the rocket. So the satellite is in very, very good condition. We're not tracking any issues, and we're really looking forward to a successful launch and on orbit as soon as we arrive there to take the full operation all the way forward, as we've done with Sentinel-6 Mike Freilich. Personally, I'm super excited. We've had these teams working together for many years. It's my 6th launch and launch campaign. I was reflecting at all of the advancement in technology, which has allowed us to streamline activities, move faster, but it's finally the teams working through many, many challenges that happen day to day, and we're really happy to work with all our partners to be ready to prepare for a successful launch. Back to you, Daryl.
Thank you very much, Parag. All right, Tim, it is your turn to test your ability with the microphone. Good job.
Thank you, Daryl. I'm proud to be here today representing the women and men of NASA's Launch Services Program. I'm the NASA Launch Director for the Sentinel-6B mission, and I'm excited to be a small part of the impressive team launching this spacecraft. Sentinel-6B is the 14th NASA LSP mission to launch on a Falcon 9 vehicle and will depart Earth tomorrow night from historic Space Launch Complex SLC-4, or affectionately known as SLC-4. Yep, of course, here at Vandenberg Space Force Base. I'd like to recognize the Falcon 9 Sentinel-6B launch team, SpaceX, NASA, ESA, Airbus, and the United States Space Force's Space Launch Delta 30. This assembled group of professionals is truly exceptional. Many of us on the launch team have had a hand in launching the multiple spacecraft in this amazing family of ocean science altimeters. NASA's Launch Services Program has acquired the rockets and integrated the spacecraft for the last 5 missions dating back to 2001. These missions were Jason-1, OSTM, Jason-3, Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich, and now Sentinel-6B. What a legacy for this launch team. The integrated Falcon 9 team has been busy with final launch preparations. Last week, we performed a rigorous mission dress rehearsal to exercise the launch team in solving launch day problems. Earlier this week, we placed the Sentinel-6B spacecraft inside the payload fairing and then transported the encapsulated assembly to the launch pad this past Wednesday. Yesterday, we held the Space Launch Delta 30 launch readiness review, followed this morning by the joint NASA-SpaceX LRR, where we received approval from senior NASA, JPL, SpaceX, and U.S. Space Force leadership to continue processing toward launch countdown. The Sentinel-6B spacecraft was mated to the Falcon 9 rocket just this morning. Later tonight at SLC-4, we will begin the process of final launch preparations by rolling the Falcon 9 with mated Sentinel-6B spacecraft out to the pad deck, followed by erecting the rocket to its vertical launch position. Tomorrow evening, the launch team will arrive on console to perform final pressurization and vehicle checkouts. The launch team will be polled around 8:30 p.m. Pacific time for concurrence to load the Falcon 9 propellants, RP-1 kerosene, and densified liquid oxygen into the Stage 1 and Stage 2 tanks. Then, after a series of final launch vehicle checks and transferring spacecraft power to internal, we will be ready for our targeted T0 and launch at the beginning of our 20-second window at 9:21 and 32 seconds p.m. Pacific time Sunday evening. To summarize, the Falcon 9 rocket and Sentinel-6B spacecraft are ready, and the launch team is prepared to launch this important ocean science altimetry mission. Back to you, Daryl.
Thank you very much, Tim. Julianna.
Thank you, Daryl. I'm excited to be here today to talk about our next NASA science mission. I'm especially excited to be here today with this team, as Parag mentioned, people I'm really proud to have worked with across many missions for more than 10 years. So really proud to be here today and to get to this milestone with all of you. As you heard, Sentinel-6B will join a global network known as the Copernicus program that has been tracking ocean and atmospheric weather since 2014 and builds on the long-term global sea level data record that began in 1992. This will be the second Sentinel-6 satellite Falcon 9 will launch. In November 2020, we delivered the Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich satellite to orbit. We also launched the Surface Water Ocean Topography, or SWOT mission, in December of 2022, and the Jason-3 mission in January 2016, all with a vast majority of the same team. So needless to say, they've been earning their SpaceX frequent flyer miles. At SpaceX, we're proud to support such incredible missions. The data from the Sentinel-6 satellites help inform the models that drive modern weather forecasting, which is vital to our launch operations at SpaceX, helping our teams choose when to launch, where to land, and how to plan logistics around shifting conditions worldwide. Our launch teams rely on global wind, wave, and current oceanic predictions, to which the Sentinel constellation directly contributes. When combined with real-time data from our drone ships, this data paints the best picture of weather conditions to ensure safe drone ship transit and recovery operations. At a higher level, when Hurricane Melissa struck the Caribbean earlier this month, the data from the Sentinel satellites provided global forecasts that help predict the storm's path and intensity with remarkable accuracy, helping give residents time to prepare. Being part of a community that creates more opportunities for scientific exploration and helps make life on Earth feel more connected, resilient, and safer is one of the reasons I came to SpaceX. And it has been a busy year for SpaceX, launching many science missions. Earlier this year, we launched SphereX, along with 4 Punch satellites. In July, we launched Tracers, which flew with us 5 total NASA spacecraft, as well as commercial ride shares. In September, we launched IMAP, along with NASA's Carruthers and NOAA's Space Weather Follow-On L1, or Lagrange Point 1. Sentinel-6B is the 8th LSP mission we'll launch in under 2 years, and our 14th overall on behalf of NASA, as Tim mentioned. And today's mission will be the 500th time we have launched a booster that has flown previously. So I should say tomorrow's mission, but tomorrow's mission will be the 500th time. It's very exciting. Looking ahead, I'm excited to see what incredible science and research will be achieved with the help of Starship, as it will be capable of launching never-before-possible spacecraft, large telescopes, deep space probes, and observatories. But focusing on Sunday, tomorrow, we're incredibly proud to support this mission, and I want to thank everybody, NASA, NOAA, ESA, EUMETSAT, and everyone for their support in the mission, and I will hand it back to you, Daryl. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julianna. Launching a satellite that helps you launch.
It's great.
Well, very good. All right, well, for anybody who's been watching the news, we know that California has been a wet place, and so now helping us out to figure if we're going to be able to launch or not on our launch day with regards to the weather is our launch weather officer, Forrest Harbin.
Thanks, Daryl. Yeah, you're absolutely right. California has been one of the wettest places in the United States this weekend, even wetter than, say, the Midwest, which is really abnormal for Southern California. That's all due to we've got 3 low-pressure storm systems that are coming in one after another. The first one came through last night into this morning, and right now we're still seeing rainy conditions throughout the day here in Southern California. And we're going to see that continue through the evening tonight. Looking at tomorrow, we've got the second system coming down. And so we're looking at, during the launch window tomorrow, prefrontal stratocumulus clouds having a pretty wide swath over the area. So we're going to be concerned about the thick cloud rule tomorrow evening. Additionally, we're a little concerned about some instability potentially making cumulus clouds become a threat. As we go into the backup opportunity Monday night, we see the cold front of that system move off to our east, which will bring post-frontal cumulus clouds into the area with additional instability and a slightly increased threat for lightning, natural lightning. Overall, we're optimistic for the weather. However, our probability of violation for the primary day is 60%, with slight improvement for backup day with 40%.
right, thank you very much, Forrest. And so now we will open it up to questions, and while we wait for our media who have joined us on the line to check into the queue, let's start off with a question that we did get on Instagram, which is, how do you measure sea level from space? What's the reference point? And we'll have Parag take that question.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. Great question. This is a technique that was actually started and demonstrated back in 1992 with the Topex Poseidon satellite. The key for that is knowing where the satellite is, and we have set up instrumentation in terms of determining the satellite's position very precisely in orbit. That's one component of understanding what the distance from the satellite is to the ocean surface, and that's done by the altimeter that Pierrik talked about, using essentially a radio frequency signal that's transmitted and received back at the satellite. We measure the time difference. So combining those two gives you the reference of where the satellite is and where the ocean is, and calculating the difference between that gives us the range and the height, which we measure very, very precisely, both the position of the satellite and also the height of the ocean down to a few centimeters.
A few centimeters. It's incredible, the level of accuracy. Thank you, Parag. And so now let's go to the phone lines. And for our first question, we have Jonathan Siri with Fox News. Go ahead.
Thanks so much, Daryl. This question is probably either for Parag again or maybe Pierrik. I'd like to know more about the orbit of Sentinel-6B. Will it be a fixed altitude? Is it variable? And how does it compare with the Michael Freilich satellite?
Pierrik.
Okay, thank you for the question. Indeed, the orbit is very important for Sentinel-6. It is an unusual orbit in the sense that it is inclined 66 degrees above the equator, and this allows the mission to cover about 90% of the world, which is covered by ocean. So this orbit is the same as Michael Freilich, and this is the same orbit which was selected back in the day of Topex. One of the reasons of keeping the same orbit is that in order to ensure the continuity among all these missions, which is very, very crucial, when a new satellite comes in orbit, like Sentinel-6B, it is injected like 30 seconds behind the one which is already on the same orbit, and this allows to take the same measurement almost at the same time, and allows to cross-calibrate one past satellite with the new one, and this is so crucial and to ensure that over 30 years we have a continuous record.
Very good, and thank you. Our next question comes from Ryan Caden with NASA Spaceflight. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hi, thanks for doing this. My question is on the licensing. There was that emergency order from the FAA restricting commercial launches. I'm just wondering if this launch in particular is licensed by the FAA or if it's licensed by NASA because it's on NASA LSP. And if it is licensed by the FAA, has there been an exception granted so you can launch at the times you need to launch? Thank you.
Okay, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, so this mission is a government mission, so it did not require FAA licensing. We sometimes call it NASA licensed or full government mission assurance mission. So given that, we were accepted by the FAA, and we knew last week that we would be able to launch and would not be subject to the new FAA rules. Those rules, as I understand it, are being relaxed. We don't know the time frame. We expect that in the coming week or so, but that would affect other launches. But fortunately, Sentinel-6B is clear of those, and looking forward to launching tomorrow evening.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. Up next, Marcia Smith with Space Policy Online. Go ahead, Marcia.
Thanks so much for taking my questions. My questions are to Pierrik and then to Pierrik and Karen, I think. The first one, Pierrik, is why did you choose to send this over by boat and truck instead of by plane? And then to both of you, could you talk about the cost of the mission and how was the cost shared between ESA and NASA?
Okay, go ahead and start us off, Pierrik.
So the usual way normally to transport satellites to the launch campaign is to use cargo planes, which are high in demand in these days of flying not so friendly hardware due to the war in Ukraine. So we had to revert to an alternative, and the transport by cargo.
And Karen, you'll take the question on the cost of the mission and how it was shared between NASA and ESA?
Yeah, so because we wanted to maximize our efficiency in building this mission, we actually built both Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich and Sentinel-6B as part of the same program. So the NASA investment, including the NASA contributions to the flight hardware, operations, science, and the launch, for the combined missions is about $500 million. And I'll toss over to Pierrik for the European contribution.
So in Europe, the Sentinel-6 is funded as part of the Copernicus program, and there are also some funding elements from the ESA member states directly, so these are two different entities. And in total, we have invested a similar amount of money as you did in the U.S.
All right, very good. And so we'll take another question from Instagram, if you will. How will the better estimation of sea level aid in weather forecasting? Karen, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll take a shot at that one. So the first thing to understand is that our weather starts with our oceans. And so if you want to understand, if you want an improved, let's say, 5-day forecast, the medium to longer range, that starts with really understanding the state of the oceans today to make that prediction. And I'll give you an example. A lot of the weather is driven by heat in the oceans and understanding the distribution of that heat. You might be wondering, what does that have to do with sea level? Well, when water is warmer, it expands. So when you look at the oceans and you see a bit of a bulge, a bit of a hump, that is often an indicator that the water there is warmer than the water around it. And that will contribute to weather, and in particular, tropical storm development. When a tropical storm passes over one of these bulges of warm water, that's like fuel for the storm. And so knowing all of that helps us predict hurricane intensification and track as well.
And certainly all the water that's coming down in California is affected by the ocean right now as it sits over the Pacific. Let's toss it now to our operator to check in with our media online to find out if there are any more questions.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1.
Okay, Marcia Smith has punched in. Go ahead, Marcia.
Thanks so much for taking a second question. And this is sort of a broader question. I'm not sure who wants to take it, but I'm curious. You've been launching these kinds of satellites now for, I guess, a couple of decades, both through the European program and through the NASA program. How has technology changed? I mean, I know you're trying to get similar data, so are you deliberately not advancing the technology because you want to be looking in the same parameters that you had in previous spacecraft, or has the technology changed dramatically so you can get much, much better data now? How does the technology feed into this?
We'll have Parag take that question.
Yeah, excellent question. So Pierrik mentioned before about continuity and having cross-calibration between different satellites, but we've had different satellites over the past 30 years, not just different satellites, but different architectures, equipment, and technology. And so we have kept up in updating technologies. Sense Poseidon demonstrated the measurement concept. So We have, for each satellite, we have applied enhancements and improvements in our technology, but with the vision of keeping continuity and stability. So as an example, with the NASA instrument that we have for the radiometer, it's a very, very sensitive instrument, but we have sort of miniaturized it from, its start on Topex Poseidon. We have improved the stability with additional calibration mechanisms. On the altimeter, for example, that has also gone through various upgrades and generations. Pierrik described this latest version as having a digital system, processing system, and control system. So technology has been evolving. We have been keeping and applying that, but with the principle of being able to have continuity, stability, and performance that can be tracked so that we actually have a set of a data record that's consistent.
Okay, thank you, Parag. And we have no more questions in the queue, and so we will go ahead and wrap up our panel today. And thank everyone for listening in. If you would like updates about the Sentinel-6B mission, just head over to this website. It's a blog that we keep updated. It's science.nasa.gov/blogs/Sentinel-6 with a hyphen in between Sentinel and 6. So again, science.nasa.gov/blogs/Sentinel-6. And of course, we have launch coverage that will kick off on Sunday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 p.m. Pacific, and that'll be on NASA Plus, Amazon Prime, YouTube, and X. We hope you'll tune in as Sentinel-6B heads to space to continue one of Earth science's most important data records. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you for your participation. Participants, you may disconnect at this time.
Beneath the waves lives a mysterious creature, older than the dinosaurs.